Before leaving the Ode River, we were just super curious about this French boat builder called Pogo Structures. We had seen a few of their boats in Dornenay and were keen to understand what they're all about, and, more important, to begin an investigation, if you will, on what fast cruising could look like. So we sent them a note and enthusiastically agreed to give us a boat tour. If you follow our channel, you might have already watched the separate video, see link above. But our major takeaways were this: fast cruising is totally possible, if you're willing to make some trade-offs, of course. And is it worth those trade-offs? Well, maybe one day we'll soon find out. Now back on trusty Panda Boat, where we sail quite a way south, stopping briefly at the Isles of Glennon, Plot Island, and Gulf du Morbihan. And wouldn't you know, we just happened to run into a sailboat racing series that I personally love so much, the Mini Transats. For some reason, I'm kinda drawn to competition. For those who don't know much about me, quick Darren history lesson here. Well, I was born, and hey, even my hair looked fast. Then, at the age 10, I got a racing cart for Christmas, and here I am, slow as hell at the back of the field, but gaining confidence. Oh, not after that, or gaining concussions. Hey, this explains a lot. Well, anyway, fast forward, the next 20 years of my life involved racing in some form of another. It even culminated into some big club racing with a championship win at the famed Indianapolis Speedway. As a very competitive and arguably decently successful racing driver, I can relate to the sailors in this series making a name for themselves, working not only on the sailing, but the sponsorship, obligations, and personal marketing that all come with a racing program. The Mini Transats are essentially a small offshore racing boat with a simplistic, budget-friendly rule set where sailors can really make a name for themselves. It's aimed at single-handed offshore sailing, where just to compete, you have to complete a 1,000-mile solo leg on a qualifying course. The finale event is a race across the Atlantic Ocean to the Caribbean, where the top sailors get bragging rights and maybe enough oomph to get a sponsorship needed for a bigger campaign. If you don't already, follow Sailing Frenchman, who began as a YouTube star and is now making a big name for himself in this series. Unfortunately, we didn't get a shot of him, well, because good for him, he was absolutely crushing it and in front of the field, so he was way out there with the leaders by the time we got here. The lead boats were doing 18 to 20 knots, and even mid-pack in the 16s. Absolutely insane speeds for a 21-foot boat. This poor guy here kept broaching, really struggling to get the boat back on its feet. Since they go so fast, the apparent wind plays some big tricks, making it difficult, now from a dead stop, to get going again, especially with that big spinnaker up.
That was such a cool experience to be able to be around that was 80 something boats, never mind there are a few other sailboats out here, so how many times do you get to be around 100 boats if you're not racing? So that was definitely worth it. We were amongst the racing. It felt like we were racing, except we were not at all fast.
We continued on south, pointing to La Rochelle, and had a fantastic downwind spinnaker run ourselves. Maybe inspired by some race boats, we certainly kept Starfire out in some decent wind, hitting 10 knots down some waves, and having a ton of fun with our version of fast sailing.
Welcome to La Rochelle.
You know, we have heard my origin story, so let's sail into La Rochelle, where we see firsthand where Panda Boat was born. Yep, we get a little tour of the Amel Factory. Oh, we did it! We've rented bikes here in La Rochelle. Just parked Dutch is at the marina, and we're heading to the Amel Factory for a factory tour, which would be so neat. I'm really impressed by the number of boats here. All kinds of very cool machines, all the way from like Amel's to Fountain Peugeot. Dufour is also built here, RM yachts, all kinds of big
Turn
names.
right, then turn left.
Definitely a big sailing center. All right, well, very quickly we've gotten out of the city into kind of an industrial area, and wow, yeah, I already smell fiberglass and resin. There's so many boat builders in this area, and we're downwind of them all. Oh, I see Amel dead ahead. Welcome to the Amel Factory, the birthplace of Panda Boat. Interesting fact here is every Amel that leaves the factory first gets all its systems tested in this pool. Touring the workshops was an amazing experience. We admired the craftsmanship and quality that goes into the build process for each Amel. Even here, just as our boat, all the bulkheads and cabinetry is glassed into the hull by hand. We appreciate this, as even after 40 years of sailing, our interior doesn't squeak or creak, even in a big seaway. It's completely quiet. Now, the modern Amels are quite complex compared to Panda Boat, but offer the best components and arguably the highest build quality possible. We are really thankful for the tour, and thanks to all at Amel for the wonderful work that you do.
Turn the boat.
Dang.
This is a great combination, Nutella and caramel.
Quite a treat. Today we're like indulging ourselves. If we see something, we like it, we're just getting it, because we haven't been out and about for like a month. So things like this are really special.
Yeah.
We really enjoyed our time in France, even though, due to lockdown, we couldn't experience as much as we would have wanted. But we make the best of our time here and really soaked in the sailing and racing culture. I hope you walk away from this episode having learned, well, a little bit about my past and maybe why I have an obsession with things that go fast. If you enjoyed this content, consider subscribing to keep up to date, and if you'd like to help power our journey, head on over to Patreon. Thanks for watching. Yeah. Bonjour! Awesome!
By the way, this is never the right time if you ever see it in our videos, because we have to turn the breaker on. Probably wasn't very appetizing.
Legend has it the sailor is still out there, somewhere, broaching their way down